So how old were you, Eric, when you first started cycling, and what would your best memory of cycling be?
I started cycling when I was 12 years old. There were so many as I was extremely passionate about the sport, but the one that stands out the most was my first Tour de France. Riding into Paris on the last day, seeing the Eiffel Tower in the distance, finishing 7th on the Champs-Élysées and accomplishing a dream that was immensely satisfying. I was 15 years at the time. The driving factor came from within. There was never any lack of motivation, and all the overseas magazines gave me all the inspiration I needed. Firstly, I love the sport. I love the thrill of winning. I had an enormous amount of drive and determination to get to the top, and I could focus on my dreams and goals. I also had this gift of visualising myself winning races prior to the race, and I was also extremely fortunate to have a very large heart.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you start visualising? Was that at a young age, or later on when you were...
No, it was just something that naturally happened, and it was just, I guess, a gift that I had, and I remember getting for my Christmas one year a book called Creative Visualisation, and after reading the book I thought, well, I've been doing this for years.
Yeah. So, and what would you do to visualise?
Generally it'd be when I was out training alone, and I'd just get into a groove and start thinking about a race coming up, and just see myself winning it.
So within cycling, obviously you set goals and made plans to get to Tour de France. Now looking back, was there any lessons that you learnt that you've, from cycling, life lessons that you've used, further on from your cycling career?
Yeah, for sure. The biggest one was following my dreams, putting a plan in place, executing that plan, and the feeling of success when you pulled it off. There's no bigger kick than making things happen.
So, those are amazing lessons and obviously great life lessons. Do you think you were learning those while you were racing, or is it just upon reflection that you, use them now and in your life today?
I knew I was learning all the time. I was achieving goals along the way and what it took to get there. I was also learning things about my own body and how far I could push the boundaries.
So, when did you move on from professional cycling? And was there any reason for moving on, or was it just time?
No, I had a sciatic nerve injury that took about a year to isolate, and in that time it became a chronic injury that required several operations. The last operation was successful, but the damage had been done to the nerve, and it was going to take a long time to heal, and the strength of my right leg never returned, so I had to concede ultimately that my career was over.
So was that a hard decision for you to make that move?
That was extremely hard. This happened in my second year as a professional cyclist, and in that time I'd proven what it takes to make it to the top. So mentally it was very, very difficult, knowing that I had to give up a sport that had become my life, and so early in my career.
So what got you through that?
My drive and determination to be successful. I always had this deep passion for bikes, what made them perform. Throughout my career I was always working out how to make my bike ride better, changing angles, changing dimensions, etc. Not thinking at the time where it may lead. On my return to New Zealand, I once again followed my dreams and eventually started designing bikes for Avanti.
So when did you decide that you wanted to create your own bike brand and your own business?
Subconsciously, probably years before I started it. And once again, it was that inner drive that took me to the Tour de France. When it's your own dream, it's so much more satisfying when you can make something happen.
So you said in an article that I read once, on one of the biggest mountain stages you were riding, you found talent that you didn't know you had. Have you had one of those feelings since starting EMC?
Yeah, I have. Through my desire to succeed, I've taken EMC bikes to a level where they can compete performance-wise against any brand in the world. And even the ideas I have in my head through visualisation sort of continue to amaze me.
So what's the Tour de France for EMC? What's that ultimate goal of seeing the Eiffel Tower in Paris for EMC? Can you explain what that would be?
Look, having EMC bikes in the Tour de France is a long-term goal, and it's all about continuing the growth, entering new markets, and spreading the word how great these bikes ride, so we can get to a level where we can someday enter that event. In any sporting environment where there are multiple people involved, the success of the team doesn't come down to one person. Before any event, we'd all meet up and discuss a plan or plans. Now, the plans would be based around a number of factors: who was in form, the terrain, etc. So there were times when I would have to sacrifice myself for other riders, but there were other times when it was my turn and they would work for me. And when that all come together, it was enormously satisfying. I think we're all professionals, and we understand that part of being a professional is part of being a team. And I think most teams have that same culture where everybody rides together as a team for a common goal.
In EMC, that there's a team around you that you work with. How do you bring them together towards working towards that common goal?
We outsource a number of things to help us move forward. Like graphics, frame designs, using CAD computers and so forth. And it's all driven by myself for a common goal amongst all of us to continue the growth.
So if you could give any advice to current young cyclists or athletes coming up through the ranks, what would that advice be?
Believe in yourself and back yourself. Pursue your passion with a great level of professionalism and commitment. Often you don't know your ability until you push the boundaries, and it's not a dress rehearsal. So make the most of it.
That's good advice. Great. And so if you could use 4 or 5 words to describe what you think has made you successful in what you've done, what would those words be, or what would that sentence be?
Drive to succeed.